This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Hey, Okay.
How you doing? Hi, Robert Roselli.
This
I
is a
don't know if we met.
demonstration of Wirecast.
Bob Roselli.
Thank you.
I guess you were on a boating a cruise or something. Yeah, we got it handled.
Good deal.
Hey, there's this.
It's not about resistance.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Did you call Rob or not call him? He wants to be at the meeting, Rob Shields.
I mean, you can call him.
Yeah.
I was just concerned we wouldn't have a quorum.
No, he said to call him.
Okay.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Hi, Robert, we have a quorum. Do you
Oh, where are you
want
guys
to be on at the meeting on my phone or not?
Are they only here for today, or?
Mark is in council,
Okay,
but he should be.
all right, no problem.
This entire week. No problem.
We have
So
Rob
there's something
Shields
that
on the
pops
phone
up.
also, huh?
We can address
Okay.
it.
We get this.
You wanna call the meeting to order?
Yes, let's call it to order at 6:06.
This
And
is a
let us
demonstration
begin.
of
We have a quorum
Wirecast.
here. Dawn, Ann, me, Mark, Robert.
And Robert Shields.
Right. We have Mario, of course, and Rick, the regional manager from Castle. All right, let's rock. The approval of the minutes from last time, did everyone read them?
Yes, I did.
That was, the last meeting was for the amendments, which everything passed. So, no amendments to it, it's good for me.
Motion
This
to
is a
approve?
demonstration of
Yeah.
Wirecast.
All right. Okay. What else we got?
I think
Should
we
we-
should go
are
right
we-
into this.
We want to do the presentation first with you guys, or you gotta wait for Howie?
I want to just.
Do you want to start it?
Another, rather.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Maybe they can start it, Mark, and
Well, I guess,
they were with them all day.
Rob, you guys have stuff to say?
Yeah, but we could do that in old
Anytime.
business
Is
or
there any other
something.
business other than this?
Yeah, I mean, we
Our
can
private
start-
business?
well,
Do
you
have
wanna
any-
start
Because we don't have Howie and Monica.
Yeah, we were gonna talk about, you know,
This is a
There was really nothing on the
demonstration of
agenda.
Nothing on the
Wirecast.
agenda.
Right, it was really just
you were gonna
questions and answers. I
mention.
figured, once you guys said your piece, that everyone would get spurred to start
Does
talking
anybody-
about
you
whatever.
wanna
So you don't have your regular,
No,
There's
this
no-
was for
well,
you.
no,
We can, if you want, we could just do the,
What?
to
This was all the
get
meeting
Eric
was
to be
about.
here, she loves the financial talking.
okay.
Okay, do the
fine.
financial stuff, let's.
So we can say that, operating count, there's 236,000 in there. Security deposits of 34,000, which is leases
This is a
and,
demonstration of
bunch of
Wirecast.
leases and, contractors deposits. And reserves, we have 441K. All right. We are, operating budget, we are a little over due to the fire sprinklers we had to put in. Try to prolong it as much as possible, but the fire marshal wasn't gonna give us more time. And, what was the other, there's two other items. Oh, air
This is a
conditioning.
demonstration of
Yeah, pump
Wirecast.
and a valve change, so we're over on the air conditioning with the budget, but we're just gonna take it from reserve, so we'll be all right. We have plenty in there. Not
We have
that big
another
of a
valve
deal.
that needs to be replaced also next tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, a pump, which I think was that was in the weekly,
Right.
for the water tower, which also caused some issues, because it's supposed to be pumping out the water, and it was leaking onto the roof. had a damage in one apartment, so we'll fix that, nothing too terrible, but that pump's gotta be replaced. So that's a nice
Is
$6
that
grand.
due, Mark, is that
This
due
is
to
a
age
demonstration of
or
Wirecast.
Yeah, you take we'll probably send it out in a
of those
weekly.
original parts?
Yeah,
They are.
it's just corroded and, yeah. It's all those ancillary parts that have to be replaced. We replaced the meat and potatoes and now all the weak links start showing through. So yeah, so we should be good with the budget.
Out of curiosity, how old is this building?
I think 71, am I correct?
It's about 50 years old.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
What year was the conversion? Okay, so Robert.
The building was built in 71 and there was a conversion when?
I think 80, which is what they're basing the 40-year certification,
75?
for whatever else.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll tell you, yeah, sorry, but I don't know if he's gonna be here, Nick Triello?
I've been
Nick,
messaging him and he's not answering.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
the
Nick
plane,
texted
his
me.
plane got delayed.
a little bit ago, told me that his flight got delayed and that he's not
Oh, how
gonna
is
land.
it?
Demonstration
He was
of
heading up the
Wirecast.
decorating committee because they did a ton of work, picked out final samples, what they want to do with the carpeting and fixtures and whatever. And he just wanted to be here to present it, so hopefully he can. If not, we'll do a meeting ASAP. Actually, that meeting was supposed to come before this, but we grouped it with this hurricane claim. That's all I got. Or the
Okay, well,
fresh
we
out.
now have Howard's lady here. Robert, can we start? Let's go. Come on.
You're
This
on.
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Hi, my name is Robert Roselli. As you know, we're the attorneys that are representing the association for the condominium hurricane claim. That's related to the hurricane damage suffered as a result of recent hurricane. So we're in the process of pursuing that claim. Some of you have been here already in previous meetings and understand what that process has entailed. First of all, assessing the scope of damage, and then determining what the scope or the cost of repair or replacement would be.
This is a
That's for the interior
demonstration of
damage, the
Wirecast.
common areas, the roof, the elevator, the hallways, the balconies, the exterior painting, and the railings, just to name some of the areas of damage. So that's a continuing process. We've had already several different inspections of the property with the insurance company representatives, as well as our own experts. Our experts that are involved in that loss also include HW3 Group. There are loss consultants assisting us with the claim.
This is a
So I have here
demonstration of
Monica
Wirecast.
Aquino to explain a little bit what they're doing.
Right, how far back would you like me to go? And we have Howard.
Oh, Howard, I didn't see Howard. There's Howard Wolf of HW3 Group.
All
Howie,
right,
so where are we at
would you
in that
like us to-
process?
Start
Is
with
it-
Mark, that's perfect.
What we recently did, what they're doing to reassess.
All right,
Um,
so I'll take, the reason I'm asking how far would you like us to go back is I'll bring you up to speed on the most recent activities.
This
So the
is
last
a
time that many
demonstration
of you
of
saw us, we were
Wirecast.
here approximately the third week of February. And at that point, two things happened. One of them was all of the months prior, we had been assessing your interior damage and then a lot of the exterior damage. But in assessing the exterior, we often find that the insurance company wants to bring on experts that focus on just that. So we scheduled several meetings and inspections, February, if I recall, 21st, 22nd. And the purpose of it was they brought
This is a demonstration
someone
of
who we started
Wirecast.
doing some roof samples with initially, so we have a better understanding of what's going on with the roof, and then window testing. So the windows, we had the insurance company bring in their team of experts, and then we also had a team on our side, and they went into 6 units, correct? All right, so 6 windows. They focused on sampling of all of the windows. We selected 6 to do thorough testing to see how the windows
This is
performed.
a
And then Howard can
demonstration of
explain to you
Wirecast.
the testing itself and what happened, but the overall result was that as we expected, the windows failed, which means that you still have water coming in. Fortunately, it's not raining a lot right now, and like I said, Howard can explain the details of the test and what was done and why it was done. But the outcome of it was we wanted to confirm that all of the windows were in fact still failing, so that we could make a stronger argument for your insurance claim that you don't need to temporarily
This
repair
is
and
a
that that would fix the
demonstration of
problem, but that in
Wirecast.
fact you need replacement of windows. So with that said, they since then have issued a report. We have to exchange the report with the insurance company representatives. Windows are costly, and so it's not something they approve overnight. It's why there was a lot of further testing done, just like your roof it's an expensive item, and a few of the mechanical items. And so before I move on, I'll let Howard explain the window testing.
Well, as far as the window
This is a
testing goes,
demonstration of Wirecast.
anytime you have an insurance claim on property, property is very similar to going to the doctor, okay? You have a building that requires repair just as if you were going to the doctor for an ailment. And if you have a certain ailment and your general practitioner says, hey, you need to have surgery, well, the insurance company may want you to go see a specialist or get a second opinion and go do additional testing and
This is a
additional
demonstration of Wirecast.
seek additional opinions before the insurance company is going to approve that cost for you to have that surgery. It is no different in property. Okay, property is the same way. Unfortunately, with property, it sometimes seems to move a little bit slower than it does as as with your health, but the process is very similar. So we had our construction
This is a
people
demonstration
and
of
our
Wirecast.
engineers and myself say there's something wrong with the windows. The windows need to either be extensively repaired or replaced. They said we need additional opinions, and they wanted sampling done, actual testing done, to test where is the window failing, why is the window failing, and how is the window failing. And so we set up a protocol in order to test those windows, and we went through the testing process.
This is a
And
demonstration of Wirecast.
basically the testing process was to simulate a rainstorm. Now, we didn't
Let me
want to
just correct one thing
Yeah.
for the record, though.
Go ahead.
It wasn't that the construction experts said that there was something wrong with the windows. The reporting from the residents here was that since the hurricane, there's been re-wetting episodes that then precipitated further inspection of the windows and the necessity for the testing to determine if there are re-wetting episodes for the.
It's a
through that
confluence
This is a
of
storm.
demonstration of Wirecast.
It's a confluence of events. It was, we knew there was something wrong with the windows. We just didn't know that they were as bad as they were. And it wasn't until we were getting comments from the residents saying that we're still getting water in. We just had a little rainstorm and we're still getting water in. And that is what precipitated us to say. It also helped us set our testing protocol. Rather than simulate the hurricane,
This is a demonstration
we simulated
of
just a
Wirecast.
regular rainstorm, because it doesn't really matter. Most windows are going to fail in a hurricane. And so if we simulate a hurricane, we're basically just setting it up for failure, and that really doesn't prove anything. But what it does prove is that you have damage since the hurricane. You've got ongoing damage under normal circumstances. So what we did was set up a test and simulated a normal circumstance rainstorm. We simulated
This is a
anywhere from
demonstration of
15
Wirecast.
to 32 miles an hour of wind. That's a pretty typical windstorm on the beach, okay? And so they didn't just fail. Some of the window systems failed right away. As soon as the water hit it, the windows were failing right away. Even some of the windows that were temporarily repaired, the temporary repairs are holding where the temporary repair was made exactly in that spot. But in some of the circumstances, it was actually
This is a
pushing
demonstration of
it was
Wirecast.
pushing the water to another area that hadn't been repaired, and so it was getting in that way, so the water was still getting in, which proved the point that we were trying to make, that a temporary fix isn't going to work. That we need to have an extensive repair. We need to have something that is going to be a permanent repair. So what we are discussing currently is we have to prepare a scenario of what an extensive
This is a
repair looks
demonstration
like
of Wirecast.
versus just getting new windows. They're not going to roll over and just say, okay, well, let's just get some new windows in here. They want to know what a repair cost is going to be. And unfortunately, with the way your windows are set up, the windows that you have, and the damage that those windows have sustained, the repair is going to be very extensive. And I'll give you an analogy with an automobile. At what point do you just get a new car, right? If you have
This is a
this much
demonstration
body
of
damage, at what
Wirecast.
point do you just replace it? Okay, and so that's what they're making a determination on right now, is what is the cost of the repair, meaning to take the windows out, properly take care of what's around the windows, reset the frame, basically pull the glass out of the windows, rework it all, get the old paint and caulk and stuff off of them, put them back in the old frames, reglaze them, and set them back in there. And all that would have to be done on
This is a
site because
demonstration
the
of
transportation
Wirecast.
to a location would be an additional charge. Okay, which means then we have to find a place around here that we can do that, and then how long is that going to take and everything else. So we are figuring all of those costs out right now to naturally bring things to a conclusion of, okay, so either we're going to do this or we're going to do this. At the end of the day, the decision doesn't belong with the insurance company. The decision
This
belongs
is a
with
demonstration of
you all, with the
Wirecast.
residents, whether you want to take the money to replace them or repair them. Okay, in the end, that's where the decision belongs. How the money gets spent is a burden on the board and the association. How the money is spent.
When will we get that answer?
No, that's your.
No, your answers to
What we
what it's
recommend,
gonna
or
cost,
what
yeah.
well, we're working on the cost right now because we just got the report of the
This
testing
is a
within the
demonstration
last
of
2 weeks. So we're
Wirecast.
working on costs right
And how
now.
long?
So
The only reason I
we're
keep going
expecting
how
costs
long
with-
is I wanted to move.
we're trying to push. We're pushing right now. We're hoping to have costs on windows within the next 2 weeks. That's what we're working towards right now. We're hoping on costs on windows within the next 2 weeks. And on the outside 3 weeks. And the only reason why I say on the outside 3 weeks is our window expert is unfortunately dealing with an imminent death coming in the family.
This
So
is a
he had to
demonstration
take some
of
time off, and we
Wirecast.
couldn't meet this week as scheduled.
So based on your experience dealing with insurance companies in this scenario, what would the insurance company come back with after you've shown them the comparison between extensive repair and replacement? Is there going to be another layer of additional testing, or did they make a determination?
I highly doubt there's going to be additional testing. At this point in time, it's really just going to be coming down and going back and forth on scope. And then once we get the scope
This
agreed
is a
upon, then coming
demonstration
down.
We have
of
hurricane
Wirecast.
season
And,
coming.
and so here's what they're going to do. They're going to get the report from us Wednesday, I think, for the window testing report. They're going to get that Wednesday. We've been through it now. We know what's in it. They're asking for it. They're going to get it on Wednesday. They're going to need 2 to 3 weeks to prepare their offer. Okay, what they believe. They've been working on that because they took notes right alongside of it. They saw the failure.
This is
So
a
it's not like they
demonstration of
haven't, that they've
Wirecast.
just been sitting and waiting for this report. This report really is just confirmation of what they've been working on.
Cool.
Okay, so and we have been in contact with them on a regular basis, and we know that they're working on it, just as we're working on it as we were waiting for it. We're all, trust me, we are just as incentivized to get through this as fast as possible as you guys are, because quite honestly, you know, I've been doing this 35 years, so I don't need to make a career out
This is
of
a
a building,
demonstration of
and
Wirecast.
I don't want to go into next hurricane season with jobs from last hurricane season. I want to be able to move on myself, and guess what? The insurance company does too. The
But
insurance.
part of why they're incentivized is if we don't hurry up and do something to the building, you're going to continue rewetting. We're going to have to bring someone in again to keep drying these units, and they don't want to pay for all that. And so it's not just what's the total on windows? They are gonna actually consider
This
all of
is a
that. What's it gonna
demonstration
cost
of
us time-wise
Wirecast.
to do this extensive repair? How much is that compared to the replacement? But not just that, if we don't hurry up and do something, the building's gonna keep getting wet, then they're gonna add that to the insurance claim, and then the number keeps going up, and oh my God, before you know it, that repair number looks a little high, let's just go ahead and replace. And so there, a lot more goes into consideration than just the
Does the
total
window
amount.
replacement that you're speaking about also cover, this is an important point for me because I keep getting bombarded, so does Mario,
This
by
is a
everyone in
demonstration
this
of
village who's either
Wirecast.
trying to sell, trying to rent, or just trying to live here like a human being. We can't redo our corridors until those doors on the south side are fixed. Is that part of that window replacement thing you're talking about?
No, that's
Or
a
is
different subject, and
When
they've
you
already,
get to that, I'm
they've
really
already
interested.
issued it. Yeah, let's take these one
All
at a time.
right.
Let's close the book
All
on
right.
windows, and then we'll go, because I can go through all of the outstanding issues. I can just knock those down and where each one of those are at. Yes, sir.
So I hope I can phrase my question
This
correctly,
is a
Robert.
demonstration
Maybe
of
you can help.
Wirecast.
Regardless of whether we do the extensive repair or whether we replace the windows, the insurance company is gonna come back with a number,
Yes. And a payment that associates with that number.
but only a number, but not directly related to extensive repair or replacement. And that's where you all are all saying, it will be our
This is a
decision.
demonstration of
What do we do with that
Wirecast.
money, which may not be enough if we decide we want to replace the windows?
Yeah, let's talk about money, the money part at the end, because
Okay.
I agree. I know exactly
I
where
think-
you're going. You
yeah.
phrased it perfectly. I know exactly where you're going with it. Let's talk about the money part at the end, because I want to talk about the repairs
Sure.
to the exterior globally,
Sure.
and the windows are a part of that.
Sure.
Okay, so, because decisions have to be made, because money is gonna be
This is a
released in the
demonstration
near
of
future from the
Wirecast.
insurance company. Additional money is gonna be released, but there's also accounting for what's already been received and things like that. So we need to, we can have that discussion. I think the money discussion should be, again, a wholly separate thing. We can do that at the very end. How does that sound?
Sure.
Because let's go through the repairs and then we'll talk about the money at the end. Because with the knowledge of where we're at with the repairs, that will help the board, the management, and you all help
This
with
is a demonstration of
prioritization
Wirecast.
what's gonna get done, what can you afford, what do you need to do, where, do you need to, are you just gonna go ahead and do it and borrow and then work from there, or are you gonna do this or that, or what are you gonna do? And so, listen, there may be enough to cover it, going all the way through, at least on the exterior, and in lieu of waiting a little longer on interior repairs. So those are all decisions that have to be made. But let's talk about
This is a
the
demonstration of
world of the
Wirecast.
repairs and where those are all at right now, because you may be able to use some money for this in order to pay for that, in order to get things done. Yes, sir, you had a
That was a
question.
similar question to that gentleman, was just, when was the commitment from the insurance company to give us some funds so the board can make the right decision, repair or replace? So it was very similar.
The insurance company has been actually, and it's in large part to the fact that there's a couple of things at work here. One,
This
this
is a
association
demonstration
set
of
the claim up
Wirecast.
properly. You used good guidance. You're working with one of the best claims preparers in Monica in the country. You're working with some fantastic attorneys in Roselli and Associates, and they're maintaining communication, and they're maintaining just the right amount of pressure on the insurance company to keep them moving and keep them moving forward. So what has been happening is, as they've been making decisions and telling us what they're willing to pay, they've actually been accompanying
This is a
it pretty fast
demonstration of
behind it with a check.
Wirecast.
Okay, as long as Mr. Roselli here looks it over and says the paperwork is in order and we accept this as an interim payment, okay, and which so far they've done a pretty good job with the paperwork, and Robert can probably speak more to that if you have more questions on that. But once it gets signed off, the check has been coming within 15 to 30 days after that, and that in insurance world is light speed.
This is a
Okay,
demonstration
especially
of
now,
Wirecast.
given the number of claims that are being paid. And again, a lot of that is in how Monica talks to them and keeps the season's name on top of the pile for the adjuster for the payables.
How much have we received so far?
There's been one distribution by the insurance company so far, just one. They want to release another
This
minimal
is a
amount,
demonstration
but
of
we haven't
Wirecast.
accepted it because we're in controversy on some of those issues. But there's one, it was put in the trust account. Now there's a lot of subcontractors and contractors that want a piece of that. And so, but we will not distribute to them unless they give us backup support and proper support. So that's all. We could talk about those details afterwards, after this meeting, on any specific detail or any specific contractor. Okay, but all that financial stuff, they've only issued one distribution
This is a
so far,
demonstration of
and we're waiting
Wirecast.
for a second distribution. And that's what, a second substantial
Now,
distribution.
how the first payment came about, just so you guys know, is sometimes they advance money just as a general advance to keep you going, and sometimes they advance money based on specific items, and that's what happened here. We were here, as I'm sure many of you recall, for several weeks assessing the interior damage, and then there was some assessment
This
of the
is a
exterior. They
demonstration of
went back, they wrote
Wirecast.
reports, and they put dollar amounts next to it. So based on that, they said, well, we are of the opinion that we are going to issue this amount of money until that, so it's just a partial payment. They said this is really just based on the interior of the building, and it's only based on our opinion so far. And as soon as more information comes in, such as the windows or the elevators or the roof or all that, as soon as we get more of that in and we can put a number on it,
This
then
is
we'll
a
issue more money.
demonstration of
So
Wirecast.
right now, the first advance payment, as we said, really was more attributed to interior repairs and only some exterior repairs. And the next round of money actually will be more as a result of windows.
Substantial payment on the next one will be exterior repairs, as well as additional payments on interior repairs and remediation. And the Seasons has also footed the cost so far, which the
is a
insurance company's already
demonstration
agreed
of
to reimburse,
Wirecast.
which, so the next payment will include the reimbursement of the money that they've put out so far for testing and engineering and some of the other fees that that the Seasons have fronted so far.
So maybe Monica, you can continue with some of the other repairs. And which is the next severe in line? Is it the balconies?
Yep, so sticking with the exterior, we've covered the windows. So maybe let's just start top.
This is a
Okay,
demonstration
so the
of
roof,
Wirecast.
this week we have a roof engineer coming to map out and do some additional testing on the roof. The insurance company at first didn't want to acknowledge that there were any issues on the roof, and we had a roofer come out in our last round of testing, and we did 2 core samples, and both of them showed failure, and so now they've agreed to pay for the proper engineering. Now, with engineering
This is a
comes, the
demonstration of
engineering will be done this
Wirecast.
week. The report comes usually a week or 2 after, and then it takes about 15 to 30 days for the insurance company to react on that. As it relates to the roof, I think they'll react a little faster because, one, it's an exterior item and it's a waterproofing issue, and as Robert and Monica have already explained, they really don't want to pay for additional Band-Aid. They want to start repairing things as you do.
This is a
They
demonstration of
legitimately
Wirecast.
want to start repairing some things. And so that they'll react on fairly quickly. Okay, they're gonna act on that rather quickly, and we're trying to expedite on that to get that thrown in if we can with the window money. So they've been working on numbers. They're anticipating a certain thing. They just are going to wait now on an engineering report to see to what extent they need to set their budget. Okay, that's the roof.
This
The
is a
exterior
demonstration
coatings,
of Wirecast.
some money has already been released as part of that first allocation. It was a very small amount of money. There's additional money that'll be coming in this next round as it relates to exterior coatings, but we're still at a fairly substantial differential on where we want to be as far as the exterior coatings are concerned. The railings are going to end up. The railings ultimately are going to end up coming down to an issue probably of code, and so we honestly haven't done a ton with the railings yet. That is kind of the next thing that we're going to start putting some effort into. You know, we've been pressuring on other things, and the biggest thing that we're pressuring on right now is getting the building waterproof and getting interiors to a point where you guys can start having some normalcy. So the railings kind of fell down the priority list a little bit, but they've become a major.
With the railings, we actually did have a lot of discussion about it. In our last meeting with them, took them outside, discussed the code issue, and basically put them on alert that, hey, you can send your people and we're gonna further look into this item, but heads up, there potentially is a code issue. We want you to start looking in that direction, because if we do end up with a code issue, then railings just became a pricey item.
Building code.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Addressing the height.
It's not, the code doesn't, as we're talking about code, we're not talking about it being an immediate safety issue. What we're talking about is, in order for us to do the repair, the city of Fort Lauderdale may not let us repair the railings any longer, because once something like this happens, you lose your grandfathering status on certain things, and this is one of those things that you would lose the grandfathering status on.
And I know what you're saying, but if you didn't see the balconies that are bent like that, I just came from apartments where the balcony is bent like this from the wind.
And it's a percentage.
You can't repair that.
Yeah,
Well, you can, but it's a percentage of the building normally under code.
Yes.
That is what is the issue. If 5 balconies are down, it doesn't mean you have to replace the whole building. So there are things there when you say code.
You
that
can't,
some of us
you
are
have
familiar
to.
with.
No, listen, we just had the architect here, but you have to.
Yeah, the
You can't
balconies
put
don't-
5 different balconies on a building.
So what is your point?
This
That they
is a
don't need to be
demonstration
replaced,
of
that maybe you could
Wirecast.
just repaint them?
No, I'm saying that for us to lose our grandfather, it has to be more than just a percentage.
You're correct.
Right.
You're correct about that. But we, up until just recently, we hadn't put a lot of effort into the investigation of those balconies. And so we're in the process of doing that right now to find out at what point. We just made it a discussion issue because their initial assessment of the balconies was
This is
just
a
to
demonstration
rough them
of
up and
Wirecast.
paint them. And so obviously that's not acceptable. And so that's the next, we can only fight so many fights on so many fronts.
Absolutely.
And
This may not be one we need to fight, just this may something, maybe you could do this.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's just the next item. We kick things down.
I paint my parking.
I'm sorry?
It's so disgusting. Can I just paint it myself?
The
This is
balcony?
a demonstration of
That's actually
Wirecast.
nothing, I would have nothing to do with it.
But it wouldn't
That's
impact the claim.
It probably would not impact the claim, no.
It's just such an eyesore.
No, we
and it's a
had
year.
asked that.
Come on.
Because we never got a
It's a
confirmation if we could.
I mean, almost.
Yeah, no,
I mean, on the
Almost
terrible
at the
balconies.
September, kids.
Listen, if
Can I
you
just
wanna,
paint it?
if you wanna, right now, as it relates to the balcony railings themselves, okay? I think we need
This is a
I know that
demonstration
there has
of
been recent
Wirecast.
conversations that the Seasons has had with an architect regarding the railings, am I correct? Okay, so until I have conversations with them regarding that, to see what I have to talk to the insurance company about, to see what demands they're gonna place on us, then we can give you that answer whether we can.
And that's
take
only
it up.
now happening. So saying we have to replace it or we shouldn't replace it or we could grandfather it. None of us can answer that. The guy just came today. That's why I was late. We just went and looked at the balconies. All the balconies on that side have, the metal is like this and it has separated from here. Okay? So like in this gentleman's apartment, if I lean on his balcony, I'm going over. So if we get grandfather it back in, it's not a problem, but whoever goes over, I don't know how we're going to pay that insurance claim. So I want somebody who knows what they're doing, that architect, and his people to tell me it's okay, because I don't want to be liable. I don't think any of you do.
The railings are the next tier of our discussions. So they're not, our first priority is getting the building weatherproof. That's our first priority.
Right, so
our second priority is interior living space. That's our second priority. Life safety, which buildings are part of life safety, that is also a priority, but that is just now coming up as a discussion for us.
So
This
what's
is a
next in the
demonstration of
hierarchy here?
Wirecast.
I mean, are the doors next? That's what I was thinking.
After railings, the doors, they did, we did get a report from them on the doors. They gave us, they agreed with us on scope for most of it. So that is going to be included in the next part of it. There is still some outstanding, it's really going to come down to more of a money issue and less of a scope issue.
When you say more of a money, this is most interesting to me because this covers everybody's issue with how the hallways look right now.
Wirecast.
When you say money,
There's no more testing that needs to be done. So
Okay.
if we want to go ahead and start doing repairs on the doors, that we can do. Because
Okay,
I can
but
tell you there will be no more.
when you say repairs,
There-
what do
there'll
you
be no
mean
more.
by a repair? What have we decided is the best
Well,
course?
that's up to you on the scope of repair. We're not gonna talk numbers. Doreen,
Broadcast or streaming that you guys can have.
Okay, I was just wondering, okay, so it's up to us now how we go about
Yeah,
it.
so we can talk about that, the specifics.
That now is in your, that
Yeah.
now is in your control.
Sure.
There's not gonna be any more inspections.
Not in this door.
Not at this door.
The only caveat is
One means the whole window.
the only caveat is if you decide to go for a replacement of the doors and you have the doors removed before the claim is settled, we can't get rid of the doors yet. So they'll have to be stored somewhere until
Okay,
we
so
have
what you're
settled.
telling me is money is gonna be released for fixing those doors. Does everybody
That's up-
understand?
So that's up to you about the allocation of the monies, but and if you would have to vote on whether or not you want
This is a
allocation
demonstration
of the monies, and
Wirecast.
what amount for the
Consult to
doors.
see
So
if
you guys
that's
got
the
to do
move.
your homework.
We definitely want to do the hallways, but
We
Yeah,
want
so
to.
let's talk about that in detail afterwards.
Yeah, I have some
Wonderful.
opinions on that.
Because
those
Sure,
doors
absolutely,
have to be
absolutely.
done.
We can certainly do it.
He never has a shortage of
I never have a short
Ask
term.
the
Okay, my problem is, I just wondered if us doing the hallways, you know, that.
I'm sorry,
that
sir, what?
Section, that's that works.
Yeah, I agree
Like a hole.
on that. And
I'm
we'll be
afraid
waiting
to
for
do
the
it
roof.
because of the
Water
damage
will go
from the roof.
underneath it.
Right,
Unless they do
This
something
is
on
a
the outside.
demonstration of
The
Wirecast.
door,
Right.
those doors are unfixable.
right. I agree with you.
All right,
And
so
the
if we,
carpeting should
so
be the
we'll talk
last thing
later
that's done
about
after
the options for the doors, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
realistically, if an item they can move forward with, which brings us to carpeting, hallways, flooring.
All right, so the hallway carpeting, I have a flooring expert flying in tomorrow, okay? This flooring expert will be examining the carpet, will be examining the lobby tile, will be examining all of the thresholds, will be examining anything that has to do with a finished floor or a substrate to a floor. He's going to be examining
That's this
tomorrow.
week, next week?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
He's flying in tomorrow, and he will be here to do that. We, on top of that, are going to have a carpet cleaning service do some test patches
This
to
is a
prove
demonstration of
what I
Wirecast.
already know because I've been in this business a long time. We're going to have a carpet cleaning service come in and do some test patches because that is the request of the insurance company. But since they don't need to be, they said they didn't need to be present for that, I don't think it's something that they're probably going to be fighting real hard over since they're not requesting to be present. They just want us to do it and show the attempt. So we're gonna have a carpet cleaning service come out here either tomorrow or Wednesday. The flooring guy will be out here
This
tomorrow,
is a
and he is gonna
demonstration of
examine
Wirecast.
every floor. He's gonna examine every substrate to every floor in order for me to get a report to the insurance company to make recommendations on replacement of floor covering.
Right now, he's flying in tomorrow and actually coming here, flying in tomorrow
Coming, I'm
night.
picking him up from the airport tomorrow and bringing him straight here.
Nice,
I didn't give him a choice.
nice. We get it somewhere.
And by the way, he's to give you an idea of
This
the
is a
credentials of
demonstration
this
of
guy,
Wirecast.
he's the president of the association for, of a trade association of inspectors that are certified by the mills and by the concrete manufacturers for examining floors and making a determination on behalf of the mill as to whatever he says would carry the weight of the mill. Okay, so it's not a retailer, it's not a salesperson. This guy is, and he's the president of the association. He also happens to be one of the most highly respected inspectors in the country as far as the mills are concerned. He gives speeches all over the world regarding inspecting floor covering. So he's very well respected. The mills, the people that make the carpet, like Shaw and Mohawk and Boyu and all of those manufacturers. So the manufacturers of the flooring, as well as Weyerhaeuser, Georgia Pacific, the Portland Masonry and Cement Foundation. I mean, he's a very well credentialed person.
All right, next, elevators.
Elevators, I am working to approve the inspector. I still have questions for our inspector. We've been going back and forth a little bit on it. I'm not happy with the report they wrote. I'm also not real. They came out for their people.
Okay.
They did a report. We
This
have
is a
had some
demonstration
inspections.
of
I don't
Wirecast.
feel that the information we've gathered responds to their report well enough yet. So I want to bring somebody else in
You know,
that will more
so we've had
adequately respond to
incidents
it.
for the last couple of months of constantly having to, do you all know that the elevator on that side, if you ride in it every now and then, you have to stay in it? And they have to come and open it, and you're halfway between one floor and the other, and we have to jump you out.
We are working on it. Now, the elevators is going to be very similar to the windows, okay?
This is a demonstration
From the
of
standpoint
Wirecast.
of the insurance company. The elevators and the windows are both very, very large ticket items. So the insurance company is I'm not saying they're going to dig in, but what I'm saying is they're going to require a lot of documentation and proof.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because they have now in writing stated their position.
Correct.
Hence we need to step up our documentation and our arguments and our position, because explain to them what they came back and said.
This
What is
is
their
a
report?
demonstration of
They basically
Wirecast.
said the elevators are very, very old and that they were bound to fail at some point in time, so now's as good a time as any. So replace them yourself. That's basically what they said. We'll give you some money for appearance enhancement,
So
and that's
some
about it.
things
So,
like the railings, they're open to the idea of, you're right, just give us some more stuff and okay, we'll look into it. Carpet, you're right. But elevators, no, they right out of the gate said, nope, nothing wrong with them. Hence now we really have to step up our
now they don't live here. They don't
Demonstration
get stuck
of
in them.
Wirecast.
Okay. So that's why when I looked at the report and I looked at the proposals that we've been getting for inspectors, I haven't found the right fit yet. And you know, I know that this is taking a little while, but I don't play fair. I play to win, and I want to make sure that whoever we select is going to be the right person to offset their report. Okay, and I'll be working very closely
This
with
is a
Robert on
demonstration of
carefully
Wirecast.
making sure that I will establish the methodology and Robert will establish the criteria to make sure that we have the right guy give us the right report to make sure that we're adequately
Make them
substantiated.
ride in the southern elevator a
So.
few times. We just won't come and rescue them.
Does that determination on the elevators impact the rest of the pieces of this puzzle?
No.
I think everything's.
That's an isolated,
Yeah.
now,
This
as far
is
as
a
elevators go,
demonstration
that's an
of
isolated thing.
Wirecast.
So, yeah, and in fact, my opinion is that'll probably be one of the last things to get settled. But that doesn't necessarily mean, again, you guys are deciding how you're spending the money as you receive it. So if you deem, once we have the right people have inspected it, and they say that they're done inspecting it, now it's just down to arguing, at that point, you guys can do whatever you need to do. Okay, so if you guys make a determination
This is
that
a
you want to do
demonstration
another
of
repair
Wirecast.
and then replace later, or you want to just go ahead and with replacement, or you want to have them rebuilt, whatever you want to do, at that point, you'll be able to do that with whatever money, how it comes in, however it comes in. Okay, because they will allocate the money as far as what they're paying for, but how this organization, your priority is almost always different than the insurance company's priority as far as what you want to spend money on first.
Wirecast.
Okay, so that's.
Can I interject? So when would we have that meeting where we can say, okay, this is the monies we're talking about, this is what I suggest you take care of first, and we'll bounce that off of the people in the building, here saying, well,
Yeah,
this is
when
what we
is the
think we
next
should do.
That meeting would be an attorney-client privilege meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then from there,
How soon can we do that?
Well, I think that the best time would be with this, there's response to our second demand for allocation.
This is a
At
demonstration
the same
of
time,
Wirecast.
we
What
could
we
see
are
what
asking-
uncontested funds
Okay.
they are going to
Okay,
issue
how
Then
long
you're in a
again
better
do you think
position
that would be?
for allocation. Then you could sit there and prioritize.
Well, the next, I don't know, because it's, the next round of money is all driven by windows,
That's true.
So
right?
that's
So
continuing.
But we can discuss that afterwards,
fine.
because the doors in the hallways, I know are something that is an issue because you guys see it every day.
Well,
You know what I
because
mean? You're
people
seeing it
can't,
in
what
and out,
happens
your
is
guests,
people
your
not being
friends,
able to
you.
sell or
So
rent
that's an
their
issue.
apartments.
But
Okay,
concerning,
so we can discuss that after. I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
I'll get that going.
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
All right. So you did.
All right,
Did
so
the
I think
elevators,
I think we've covered the exterior, right?
Yeah, we covered the exterior, the main mechanicals. As far as interior finishes are concerned, we are, in my estimation, about 75% in agreement on scope so far. That will just be in the next few weeks that I think we'll be able to close the loop on agreement of scope.
That's dealing with the apartments.
That's dealing with the individual
Affected
units.
apartments.
Yep. And we're about 50% of the way there on money, as far as agreement.
Okay.
Okay. Did we put in a claim for foliage or anything like that, or that's not in there?
We did, actually, and there's not a large number, and I don't think it's gonna be contested, and it'll get.
This is a demonstration
Yeah.
of Wirecast.
How much have you guys demanded? How much have you received so far?
Well,
we're gonna talk about that off the
Right
record.
after this.
Yeah, you can stay right after we're done.
Yeah.
From the next number. Yes.
Go ahead.
And say just on the money side, it's not so much how much we've demanded, it's always how much can you prove up? So either, that's why I was saying they either issue some advanced general number with no allocation, which could be $1 million, could be something just to get you started and they show good faith that
This
they
is
want
a
to cooperate.
demonstration of Wirecast.
But in this particular case, they issued money against certain items, which their first round was based on the interior, the units themselves and some exterior. So in this case, there wasn't so much a demand for money, it was what can we all put together in terms of documentation to prove that we have damage and we've associated a dollar amount, and what can you give me against that? Obviously, less your deductible. So in the first round, the deductible gets accounted for, and then they send what's left over.
This is a
I don't think
demonstration
everybody
of
would feel the
Wirecast.
deductible is $1 million, right?
It's $1 million, it's more than $1 million.
It's more than $1 million, it's almost 1.1. The getting back to the surgery analogy, for anybody who's had surgery, you know that sometimes your bill doesn't get wrapped up until a year or two after you've had that surgery. This isn't much different than that. You, at some point, are gonna fix the building, and at some point soon are gonna start fixing this building. but we may not settle the number side of it
This is a
for a couple of
demonstration of
months after.
Wirecast.
But we will be to a point where enough is covered in order to give you funds in order to start moving forward, and then it is up to you as an association to decide how you're going to allocate those funds.
So there may be an assessment?
I can't respond to that.
Your board is trying to avoid that. So what initially, when they hired us, we had made a claim
This
very
is a demonstration of
expeditiously
Wirecast.
in the world of hurricane claims. A lot of condos and their managers, they sat on it, they didn't know if they were going to meet the deductible. Their agent might have said, hey, you're not going to meet the deductible, don't bother. But the fact is, the insurance company isn't going to go look for the damage. You have to present the damage assessment to them. They're not going to do it for you. So we immediately, when we were hired, notified the insurance company of the claim. They was just weeks after the storm, and at that point they flew in their main field adjuster from Chicago, was able to assess and actually see the damage as it would, shortly after the storm. So he comes from Chicago, comes down here, and the damage was still very visible. And then with that, they did inspections, some preliminary inspections, and he, based upon his own experience, was able to say, yes, this is going to exceed the deductible. Had you waited and not made the claim, you would have all these bills and invoices from the different people that were in here, like the restoration company that was poking holes and doing the drawing for those weeks after the storm, submitting the bills. Those would be then given to the insurance company. The insurance company would say, you don't meet the deductible. No one would have assessed all the damage that the storm truly caused. Then you would end up getting an assessment for that bill. So instead of that process, all those vendors, subcontractors that were in, are submitting the bills as the law office and overseeing this. We have all those bills. We are now demanding that they prove up those bills with proper documentation and support, not only for the services they provided, but to assist us with the overall claim. So there's not going to be an assessment, and the board is certainly trying to prevent that at this juncture. We don't know down the road, but at this point it seems like we're going to be able to at least get all these repairs that we're talking about covered. So then there's uncontested damages and claims in the scope of repair or the cost of that they will issue payment for. It's the contested ones that are down the road going to be the ones that we might have a fight over. And that's why we're here and we're involved, and we're trying to get the additional experts and supporting documentation for the insurance company.
In my experience, there's a board, once they file a claim, take three approaches. The first approach is just assess everybody for the total damages and then wait for the reimbursement to come from the insurance company. Okay, I find that to be a somewhat lazy approach on the fact of an association, but a lot of them do that. There's also we're going to wait until we see what we get, and then we're first going to start taking a look at what we got to do. And then there's the prudent approach. The prudent approach is to, as we take in funds, prioritize, do analysis, maybe do a little forecasting, and then spend up to not only what we receive, possibly go into reserve, but whatever's got to be done in order to stay close to the claim amount going all the way through it. It requires a lot more effort and attention on the part of the management and the board, but that's the course this board has chosen, okay? And I think it's a very prudent and reasonable approach to take. And if I were an owner in the association, it's what my expectation of a board member would be, is to be expeditious, to be prudent, and to be fiduciarily responsible going through this process. And that's what they're doing. It seems excruciating at times. I understand that. But if you look at the other two options, okay, they could have just done an assessment for $8 million, okay? Because that was our original budget, was $8.5 million. Okay, and it may end up being a little higher, it may end up being a little bit lower by the time this is all said and done. They could have assessed everybody for $8.5 million and just said, whatever the
This
insurance
is a
company gets us,
demonstration
we'll
of
reimburse,
Wirecast.
and then whatever the balance is, that's the assessment. They could have done that. I have seen that before. And like I said, they could also have just done nothing, waited for the insurance money to come in, and then just patched it up. And they're not doing that either. They want to do good repairs, because part of going through what they're going through right now is they're looking and evaluating at making, and I don't want to speak for the board, but the questions that are being asked of me so far are leading me to believe that what is being done is the repairs that are being made are to avoid having to do useless or unnecessary assessments in the next couple of years. Go through the pain now, so you're not having to do a paint assessment again in a year, or a door assessment again in 9 months after, and then a flooring assessment 14 months after, and then get nickeled and dimed over the next 6 or 7 years. That's what they're trying to avoid.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
So are we done now with the official meeting? So we can answer other questions?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, we can pause it, because I don't know if there's any question and answer period we wanted to do, but I can do that. If we want to get into specifics, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe adjourn.
Money as part of.
Okay.
No reason to keep it open.
Okay, so, yeah, I can close that. I'm cool with that.
Because the committee, the decorating committee has to be tabled, right? He's not gonna attend. So.
Well, yeah, Nick didn't show up, so we'll
This is a
book that real
demonstration
fast.
of
We can talk about the
Wirecast.
carpeting and stuff, and the fixtures, and the paint, the coloring, elevator landings.
What we'll have to do is just hold a quick meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah, like I
approve
was
it.
saying in the beginning, it's like that was supposed to come before this.
Decorating committee approved flooring, covering,
So he wanted to
paint,
do the whole
everything, and we
presentation.
wanted to get them to present it to
We'll
you
set it up
guys.
for,
Well,
I didn't.
huh?
No, I didn't.
You know, this is a problem. A decorating committee is people who are here.
I'm here.
I understand you're here now, but it is
This
up
is
to
a
the
demonstration
decorating
of
committee to get in touch
Wirecast.
with each other and get together. And the only person who was constantly pushing forward was Nick. It's not up to Nick to call people and say, let's do it. It's everybody to get together and call.
Oh, he did come.
And he was working and he just,
He did come to me and.
I understand.
We had a
He didn't come to
discussion,
me either. What he
No,
did
he
is he
did.
was with whoever was here.
And we had a discussion that the paint color was way too dark.
Uh-huh.
So he said that it was gonna be lighter because it was the same color as this. I said, no, that doesn't,
Okay, so did you all
This
decide on
is a
something?
demonstration
Well, that
Did you
was the
call
last
it
time.
back?
That's the last I ever heard from him. He said he agreed that it was
All
too
right,
dark.
but I don't wanna have anything to do with it, because as far as I'm concerned, we formed a decorating committee, and
Right.
the committee's job is to liaise with each other and come up with something, and if they're not calling each other and liaising, that's not my job. I'm not here to babysit. I
Well, we
have
can
work.
save that when he does the presentation. So if it's
when
when he's in
I
town, we
suggest,
can have
'cause
this
I agree
conversation.
with you,
Right.
I suggest that you call him before and say, hey, I'm not in agreement with this, and I think you should.
Well, he was gonna come back.
This
from
is
the-
a demonstration
I don't want
of
There is no
Wirecast.
decorating committee because Sean's out of town and you're trying to get me kicked off of it. So
See
it's
how
all
I reach
just
this?
one guy's.
We
were almost good.
How did I even get
So
to this when I
close.
never did?
All right, well, we'll
We'll
redo it, okay? And we'll set it up for May.
What I,
Guys
you,
just
are,
hire an interior designer.
he is, that is exactly what
Just
he
hire
is.
them, give us
That,
4-3 selections.
All right.
Why-
All right, we shut down, we're gonna talk.
Can we go off the record?
okay, let's adjourn. What I'm, you understand what I'm trying
I
to
know
say?
what you're talking about. Let's not go there.
Let's adjourn this morning, but we will definitely set it
Yeah,
up for May.
please, you
where
all
he has
get
to
it
go.
done. That's what
Okay?
I'm asking. Please
Well,
get
I've
it
been
done.
dealing with,
So there's just two of
I've been
us.
dealing with other stuff. I had some fractures.
No, there are three, Mrs.
He had
Coben. What,
surgery.
what about her?
That's why I couldn't make the appointment. The fractures.
All right, motion to adjourn,
Motion. I, yeah, first to 10.
all in favor?
Aye.